This is the Stubborn German Podcast. I'm Kevin Ostie, joined, as always, by the proprietor of the Stubborn German Brewing Company, Mr. Chris Ron.
Salutations.
Ooh, fancy. And also by our esteemed producer, Mr. Jared Chasson.
Hello.
And a very special guest on this episode, Mr. Josh Perschbacher. Josh, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Hey.
Thanks for coming on.
So, if you've not yet heard one of these podcasts, these originate from the Stubborn German Brewing Company in beautiful Waterloo, Illinois, and a town that's steeped in tradition and history.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
Yes, it is.
As we develop our own little traditions here on the show, Chris is going to bring forward the German word of the day.
Here it is. It's a tradition like no other. Okay, the German word of the day. So it's a crazy German word that no one knows what it is. We're going to guess, and we'll reveal what it actually means at the very end. So this one is Scheinwerfer.
I'm sorry.
One more time. Okay, so we're going to do the Google thing. So here they are. Listen carefully.
Scheinwerfer.
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 Scheinwerfer. Scheinwerfer.
Of course.
And Kevin, what does Scheinwerfer mean?
Well, because I'm a generous person, we're going to allow our guest to go first.
There
Josh,
you go.
why don't you give it a whack?
Josh
Manners.
says
Oh, man, that's
Scheinwerfer.
really put me on the spot. I didn't know we were going to dive right into the hard stuff.
Well,
We can if you can pass on this one and go to Jared if you like.
Yeah.
You got this, Josh?
I have
Okay.
nothing.
I'm going to say a car wash.
Car wash.
I think it's a German
Okay.
car wash.
all right. I'm
Not
going to say
bad.
it's a
Kevin?
slippery word.
slippery word.
Yep.
All right. Scheinwerfer is a slippery word. And Josh, what would be your final answer?
Man,
There's no prize and no penalty. So
Yeah.
You really just kind of make up. Kevin said his birthday last time.
yeah,
So
did I?
we'll go with a slip and slide.
a slip and slide.
Slip and slide, all
Not
right.
bad. Not bad.
That's actually a really good guess.
Okay.
Not that I know what it actually means, but it sounds good.
The
We'll
votes
see.
have been tabulated. We'll give the results at the end of this show.
Awesome. So Josh joins us with some interesting stories and some big news coming up, man. So tell me what's going on in your world these days.
As always, my wife would be the first to tell you, I've always got something going on.
Join the club.
all over the place, and every time I've got some new, wild hair idea, she says, "You've got to give something up before you can take on something else." And so I've got a short list of things that I'm slowly trying to wean myself from. But right now, just found out that I was selected for the American Made Hero program through Evan Williams. So that was
Nice.
It's fantastic.
released just here recently.
Yeah.
So cool. It's so cool.
Tell me a little bit about the American Hero program and what it entails, and what did you get by being selected?
Yeah, so historically, it was a program that veterans from across the country would get nominated by somebody to be a part of this program. And last year, they forwent that they foregoed that process, and instead what they had done, there was a grant program that they instituted for veterans serving nonprofit organizations that had been affected by COVID.
Okay.
And so I run a nonprofit in the St. Louis area called the Vetwork. We do veteran networking events, and we weren't able to have networking events. That wasn't something you could get in front of people and do.
Yeah, not traditional.
We're still kind of wondering how you're going to pass the tongs for some T-Ravs and mop sticks at a networking event in the near future. But God willing, we're gonna get back at it. So I applied for the program and was not selected. But they decided that instead of doing the nomination program like they had done in years past, that they would just take people who had applied for this grant that were veterans that ran nonprofits, and they did their vetting process through that and selected 6 veterans from across the country to represent the American Made Heroes for 2021.
So, and if you're not familiar with what this is, I mean, basically, I remember seeing I think it's maybe, is it every summer? It's kind of a summertime rollout type of a deal. like Josh's face is going to be on a whiskey bottle.
Yeah, that is so cool.
Yeah, all my friends from college and all my Navy buddies are going to be like, no way.
Yeah, no way.
Yeah.
It's so awesome. So, but yeah, they put all 6 the people that are selected on this bottle, and it's the American Hero bottle. It's red, white, and blue, and it's a bottle of Evan Williams that they release every year. I think is it a liter bottle? I want to say it's a bigger bottle than just the standard 750. Yeah. And so it just a really cool. I've seen these before, and I was just, obviously have been just kind of like, well, that's really cool. They do that, and then my Heaven Hill guy got with me and calls me one day and says, hey, so this guy tells me all about it, and I'm like, well, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like, yeah, this guy from Waterloo won it. I'm like, no way, who? He's like, well, I forgot it. He had a long last name, forgot what it was.
Really German sounding name.
Yeah. I'm like, well, who is
that? Doesn't narrow it down around here.
His name in German means slip and slide.
Yeah.
We'll find out. Yeah. So, so I found out that way, and then I knew Josh from the brewery, and we have another tie-in with his other company, Salty Sailor. So I obviously had been communicating with him previously, and once I finally found out his name, I texted him right away and said that's awesome, congratulations, and then our Heaven Hill guy said, well, we're going to have an event, and Josh can be there and he can sign his bottles and all this stuff. So we're gonna have a thing. So
I'm gonna have a cardboard cutout of me. I've finally made it.
No way!
Right?
What, really?
Yeah, life-size cardboard cutout. I was like, man,
one that you didn't make.
Right.
Someone else made it.
Now, you said one of 6 people across the country, right?
Yeah,
so
that's huge.
pretty prestigious.
Yeah.
This is not a commonly handed out award. So congratulations.
thank you.
Absolutely.
That is awesome.
And like you're saying, they got to be veterans and they've got to be running nonprofits, so it's a pretty elite group to start with. Have you heard or seen any of the other people that have been selected?
No, not as of yet. So at this point, I have not. We have. Well, as of taping, the only time that we've actually found out about all this was because the rep reached out. I reached back out and said, I'm getting word on all this. And they said, PR says you still are, don't talk about it just yet. So I was like, okay, not a problem. I didn't bring it up. I was reached out to, and they said, no, that's not a problem. So, they're trying to get everything scheduled for the in-person events. And it takes a little logistics and lead time to do that. So
That is so cool. We know the guy.
I know, right?
See the guy in the bottle? We know that guy.
I was shocked, and then I was not shocked. I was just like, of course, like one of our good customers, and a friend, what I consider a friend of ours here at the brewery, would be have his face on our Evan Williams bottle. Like, why not?
Well, and then
why would he not?
The opportunity to come here to that event and meet him in person is really cool too. So and so the scheduling we're not sure on yet.
We're not sure on the date yet. I think we find that out actually tomorrow. It sounds like.
Maybe.
So we'll at the time this airs, we will know the date and how would you say that? Look below because the date will be right there in the description.
We'll put that in there. Sure.
Yeah, we can just give a dramatic pause right now, and then you can edit in the date
will
later.
be
May.
June.
Yeah, right. So just look down. There it is. Very cool. And
Nice.
so to qualify, again, being a vet that runs a nonprofit, tell us about your organization. And you mentioned the networking, but what's the end result, and who do you reach out to, and how does it work?
Yeah. So my actual full-time job that Chris might not even know. So I work at UMSL, the University of Missouri St. Louis.
Okay.
I'm the director for veteran services there, processing all the GI Bill benefits, doing transition work, getting student vets from either from the military into college and then college into careers. And so
Nice.
that's the big thing that I do there.
Wait, so you're telling me you don't just make green beans all day?
No.
Oh.
If only.
Sorry, keep going.
Not yet. So I've been there since 2018, and before that I worked in Chicago. I lived up there too long. I'm a Cardinals fan, born and raised.
Attaboy.
My first time I ever kicked as a baby was my parents were at Game 6 of the World Series in '82, and Hernandez hits a triple.
Nice.
And that was the first time for the go-ahead run that I kicked. So even in utero, I was a Cardinals fan. But I was up there when the Cubs.
You can't make that up.
I mean, I was up there when the Cubs win the World Series and the Hawks are winning. And I thought this is the worst thing ever. It's obnoxious. And then I get down here, and then the Blues win the Stanley Cup, which is great. And so if Buffalo,
is
if you're
it you?
listening, I can be bought. If you would like a championship, I will travel.
You'll go to Buffalo?
So I started up the Vetwork when I was working in Chicago, and there was a lot of different events for veterans going on all at the same time. So, for example, a really great organization called Bunker Labs, they do veteran startup, tech startup, incubator, accelerator program. And they were having their Super Bowl of the year muster across America. A couple hundred people there, really great event. And 4 blocks away, Guggenheim Partners are paired up with the Mission Continues program to do LinkedIn headshots and profile resume writing, all of this for veterans. Literally 4 blocks away downtown Chicago. And then on the north side, they were having just a Liberty Call, just a bunch of vets getting together, happy hour type thing. And I looked at that and said, there's got to be a better way to get everybody on the same page of what's going on for veterans. Veterans shouldn't have to decide between going to a networking event and getting a job and getting mental health assistance.
So all this stuff was going on at the exact same time. So you just had to pick.
And so
that was just one day.
And that was just one day.
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks later, same thing, a bunch of events all going on.
Crazy.
So I said, we've got to be the ones to reach out to the other stakeholders and say what's going on, and we need to be the ones to make those decisions so veterans don't have to decide.
Make it easy for them.
Yeah, and so that was kind of the first inkling. That was the first starting of it, and then took a job down here in St. Louis, moved here, realized that the veteran networking events that colleagues of mine up there, they have one called Roll Call Chicagoland, really great organization. We didn't have something like that happening every month. And so I said, we've got some that were happening already for student veterans, but it was once a year. And I said, well, that's great. You meet a lot of great people, great companies, but the relationship that you built over that 3 hours, and then you see them again in a year.
It's not enough.
It's not enough.
Yeah.
And so it was, how do we do that? So in August of 2018, we had our first event, and we were doing one veteran networking event, Vetworking STL, every month, up until February of 2020. And we were getting about 75 people at each event. And we would go to Schlafly, we were at Urban Chestnut, at ITAP,
Nice.
we went Ballpark Village.
So you have fun with it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's different than some of the other kind of veteran organizations where you're sitting in a beer hall just kind of drinking. This is specifically student vets, military veteran spouses, Guard reservists, transitioning service members, and then veterans who work at all these companies from around St. Louis, so that you can go in and say, I want to get into Boeing. And you say, well, how do I do that? And the guy says, well, I've been a project manager there for 12 years. And he's like, can I have your ear for a second? Can we talk? How did you get there? And they talk you through, this is what I did. This is how I got my foot in the door. And they go, oh, that's great. And then 3-4 months later, it's I've had beers with this guy every month. I've talked to him. I've hung out. It's hey, can you pass me your resume? I know a hiring manager. They got a position open. You're a good guy.
Yeah.
I don't have a spot on my team, but I would love to have you on my team. Let me introduce you to somebody. And so that was really how we got things started. And then, COVID happened, and we couldn't do the in-person events. And so we did the pivot, and we moved everything kind of online. And so we started doing, instead of 3-hour Zoom calls once a month that everybody would just absolutely hate because we're on Zoom too much anyway.
Absolutely.
It was twice a month. We do an hour. Every other Tuesday, we would have these kind of events. And then hopefully here in July, we've got it planned that we're going to start having the in-person events again.
Good.
Awesome.
So,
very cool.
And, one of the things that I noticed, so I run a business, and we try to hire vets every time we can, and we've got some good ones working for us. Last year, well, I guess at the end of 19, I had the opportunity to go overseas, actually to Saudi Arabia, and I was part of the trip was visiting a U.S. base there, and I got to meet a bunch of Marines and Air Force guys and some Army guys, and we were talking about some of these people were getting close to the end of their term, and we were talking about what's next, and a common thread that I've seen from a lot of vets is that their career path essentially has been in the military, which is different from civilian life, and they straight up just didn't really know how to navigate a job interview and finding out more information about a company and all this stuff. And it's not that it's got anything to do with their intelligence level. These are people that you wanted to hire right now.
Oh, yeah.
But they just didn't have that training because high school didn't do it and the military didn't do it. So what are you guys doing in addition to networking to help prepare them?
Yeah, I can give you some numbers. You're absolutely right. 48% of enlisted veterans will leave their first job post-military in under a year.
Wow. 48%?
48%.
Holy cow.
And this is going to be a dated reference, and I think I'm in good company right now. Most veterans, I'm 38, most veterans, when they're transitioning and getting out, the last time that they interviewed for a job was Blockbuster and Dairy Queen when they were in high school.
Yeah, no way.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And
Well, it makes sense.
And
Yeah.
all you were doing was just trying to figure out who's going to give me the most hours so I could take a girl out to a movie
Sure.
and put gas in the car.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. That's absolutely the only thing. And so when you get out, all of a sudden you're not realizing that you need to interview these companies as much as they're interviewing you.
Yep.
And is it a good culture fit? I have plenty of people who get out and they don't see the value in what it is that they're doing day to day. In the military, even if you have the most mundane job pushing paper, you're still kind of instilled with the idea that every second counts, lives are on the line, what you do matters.
Yep.
And I've got guys that I know that got out, took a job with one of the airlines up in Chicago, working out of O'Hare, and he was in operations manager for the people restocking planes as they came in with peanuts and pretzels and sodas and all that stuff. And it was just so monotonous. And he's like, I just don't really see the value. I don't see what it is that I'm supposed to be doing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Am I really helping?
Am I really helping? It's just
Yeah.
kind of like monotonous. It's just this redundancy on everything.
Sure.
But his name's Nick Canetti. Awesome guy. He's been on a couple podcasts. I've listened to his. I know he'll listen to this one, so give him a shout out.
Awesome. Hi, Nick.
Hey, Nick.
He took a job now with Cone Cranes, and Cone is a huge organization, and I think that their tagline is "We lift your business" or "We elevate your business." They run those massive 8-ton cranes that run overhead in factories that lift up thousands and thousands of pounds worth of equipment. And so when he goes out there on a job site and he sees what's going on, it's like they can't do their job unless we're here doing this. And I think that he has found a lot of fulfillment in his job.
That's worthwhile work for sure. Yeah.
You see at the end of the day the benefit of what it is that you did. You accomplished some massive task.
Right.
Yep.
And I think that a lot of veterans are looking for that.
Similar to,
You know, and that's where you didn't, and I always use Purina as a great example. When you look at culture, if you're a veteran, Purina is a good company. They like veterans. If you like the Cardinals and you like dogs, you can find worse places to work than Purina. Purina is great because they do a lot with the Tony La Russa ARF Foundation and Animal Rescue and all this kind of stuff. And you're like, okay, it's Purina. They're 2 blocks away from Busch Stadium. They like veterans, and they do so with dogs, and they have a bunch of philanthropy things that support the things that I like. Yeah, I'm on board. Let's do that. And I don't think that a lot of veterans take the time because they also didn't prepare. They didn't build up a war chest before they got out. They didn't pay down debt. And so now they're in that, I get paid in the 1st and the 15th. I need that paycheck. I've got to support my family. So they take the first job offered, and it's a little demoralizing. They don't really like where they're at. There's factors that go into it on the civilian side with HR that I've experienced personally that comes with you don't appreciate the job that you have because as soon as you got here, you started looking for promotions and you started looking for other opportunities within the company. But the issue with that is that in the military, as soon as you put on rank and you become an E5, they tell you, how do you make E6? Well, you need to take on this collateral, this, and this, and you better start angling
This is
for
the path,
this is the path for the next one. And if you aren't already on that path, then you're behind. You're already late to the party, and other people are already doing what needs to be done. So when you talk about being veteran friendly and understanding kind of what that means, it's a failure to see those people. You want veterans because they're hungry and they're aggressive and they are goal oriented and all of this, and then they go, but not like that. We don't like that. We like all those things, but not in the way that I spent $12,000 on onboarding you and doing all of this, and then you want to bounce in less than 6 months, and you go. Well, now you're an ingrate, and you kind of look at it that way. So it puts a bad taste in the hiring manager's mouth. It's not a good fit. And then the people bounce, and then they leave. And so we do a lot. I've sat on TAP panels, the Transition Assistance Program out at Scott. I have conversations with people there. We do professional development things at our networking events where we kind of dive into those things. Sometimes it's very heavy on the veteran side where we're talking to them about things that they can do to talk about their experience. And it's not civilians' job to decode a military resume.
Right.
It's
Sure.
the veteran's job to
Explain it, yeah.
to
Yeah,
write
right.
in the language of the
Gotcha.
people you're
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
to. But then we'll also turn it around and say, hey, HR, here's a week where we're going to talk through some of your issues and ways that you could be more veteran friendly in certain ways. And so we try to kind of go to both sides of that coin.
Yeah, one of the things that I noticed is that, in the military, and I've met specific people that are very yes or no, sir, speak when spoken to, and they're not real good at selling themselves.
Yeah.
They don't just bring out what they're good at, unless they're asked or commanded to or whatever. And we hired an individual who has become just a crucial part of our company. He's an Air Force vet. We went to a job fair at Scott and met this guy, and we didn't really know what to expect. It was our first time attending an event like that, and we just had a little sign up saying we're looking for a shop assistant. And we thought that was kind of safe because it was an entry-level position. We don't know what the talent pool looks like. And this gentleman came up, and he was very yes sir, no sir, and still is, and had a few questions about what this job entailed. And he's like, well, I want this job. And my wife was actually, she runs our company, and she was attending this, and she said, well, what's your skill set, and the short of it is, he was a loadmaster on the C-130J transport plane, right? It was his job to take tons of equipment, get it on the plane, tons of people, put them somewhere else in the world, get everything off, and get them all home safely, right?
Yeah.
When he transitioned out of the Air Force, he was working the parts counter at an auto parts store.
Yeah.
It's a total mismatch of skills, right?
Yeah, right.
And then we had him hired as a shop assistant, which was not a broom pusher, but it involved pushing a broom. I mean, it was really not his skill set either.
There's some of that happening, yeah.
Right, but he just liked the car world, and that's what I'm in, and he wanted to work in the shop. And as we started to work with him and started to peel those layers away and ask him questions, Kelly, my wife, and I were having a discussion about managing our team because neither one of us are classically trained managers. And we call this guy Sarge, that's his nickname. And we said, hey, Sarge, what do you think about this? And, well, are you asking me? Well, yeah. It turns out he had managed 164 people at one one time.
Yeah.
Wow.
What? You didn't tell
Yeah.
me that? Come on, dude. Help me
That would
out
be
here.
helpful right now.
Absolutely, yeah.
Way to bury the lead.
Right. So, there needs to be, some way for these people to have the communication vocabulary and the comfort level to say, hey, I can do that.
Yeah, and that there's an aspect of that where in the military, no matter how long you've been in, we all have collaterals. We all have like your job, and then there's like all the other things that you also do in addition to your MOS or your rate or your whatever that is, and because of that, because you get thrown into, you're going to go be this person, you're going to be the command fitness lead, and you're going to do this. Nobody went to military training to do some of the jobs that we're doing. That's what you're in charge of,
Sure.
And so when you get out, you kind of feel like you can do anything. We're agile, we're well equipped, we adapt and overcome. You throw me at a problem, I will figure it out. Well, we also say that is a problem when you can't articulate what it is that you want to do. What value are you going to provide to this company? Because HR doesn't have time to go through and figure this out for you.
Right.
They've got at a job fair, they've got a line like 18, 20 people deep, and you walk up and say, I'm a veteran, what job do you have for me? And I'm going to take this from a friend of mine, Jason Boone. He works at Lockheed, and I think he stole it from Tom Mitchell. But none of these companies hire veterans. No company hires I don't need you to veteran for me. I need a business analyst. I need an IT person. I need an accountant.
Right.
But we don't have veteran as a role that we're hiring for. I don't need you to veteran for me.
Right.
I don't need you to sit and drink $1 High Lifes at a fish fry at the VFW on Friday night.
right.
Like you can come in smelling like Monster and whiskey and bacon, and like that's being a veteran and wear grunt style shirts. That's fine. But
It's
at
a
the end of
good
the day,
gig if you can get it.
Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
if they're hiring, like, let me know. Like, if you need somebody to do that, like, I'm game. But at the same time, that is not a job that we're hiring for.
Right.
So we need you to be able to articulate
Yeah.
what it is that you want to do. And you can tell Chris that you want to do one thing, and you can tell Kevin you want to do something else, and that's fine. But you can't go into these interactions saying, I don't know what job do you have for me. I'm a veteran. Like, just give me a job.
Yeah,
It's like
I'll do something and
I'll do whatever.
add value or worth.
Right, right.
Yeah.
That's the wrong approach to have.
Sure.
We talk through some of those things and try to let people know, because the military does a very poor job of equipping people with that. They do a 10-day, 5 to 10-day TAP program, but it's not the military's job. They spent their own money for somewhere between 8 and 12 weeks to put you through basic training.
To train them for their job.
To train them for the military.
Yeah.
It's not also their job to demilitarize you for the civilian
And get you
workforce,
ready to do something else.
jump
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah,
not their
yeah.
it's not their role. But they try. They have some programs, and I do think that here the Air and Family Readiness Center, the AFRC at Scott, is probably I would say in the top 5% of all of the TAP programs DoD wide.
Really?
It is a very, very good, robust program.
Excellent.
Scott Rather is really involved with that. And so, if anybody ever has questions about that, you can find me. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm happy to get you connected with any of those resources.
I was just going to say,
on any
if a
of that.
veteran wants to reach out to you and say, how can I get some assistance with, what I'm trying to do, how can they do that?
Yeah, easiest way is going to be probably on LinkedIn. And then from there, all of my connections. I had a guy from my veteran hockey team today
Nice.
who says, hey, I'm getting ready to graduate. I need 270 hours for an internship.
I saw that on your Facebook page. Okay,
and he saw it on Facebook
yeah.
and LinkedIn, and I posted. And I had somebody from DuPont who reached out and says, hey, I'm guessing this needs to be paid. And I go, it does not need to be paid. And he goes, oh, that makes things way
Send it
better.
over. Yeah.
Let me know. And then I had 3 other people reach out to me on my LinkedIn page and said, hey, I've got
Nice.
some stuff here. There's different contractors out with Scott and places that were like, I think we can figure something out. So
Does he know how to keg beer?
But he will adapt and overcome.
He
will.
will,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a veteran, I think, and he is a sailor, so I can say that he probably does know how to tap a keg. So
Yeah. Well, it's just it boggles my mind that the veterans from all the different branches are kind of like the biggest untapped resource and the biggest secret of the workforce, because we just don't know how to communicate with them, and they don't know how to communicate with corporate speak and pigeonhole job titles. They're here to solve all the problems, and
Yeah.
that's really cool. I'm glad that you're there and that these guys can reach out, guys and gals.
So I don't mean to derail the conversation. This is
you
great
do.
information, amazing content. I'm intrigued by these jars of what looks like peppers and maybe some kind of
what'd you
vegetables.
bring?
What do we got in here? What are we talking about here?
yeah, so brought some pickles. I got a handful of different ones. So these are first jar. This is bread and butter pickles
Yum.
Nice.
from the Salty Sailor Canning Company.
What is the Salty Sailor Canning Company?
It is. I did listen to the last podcast that you guys did, and I'm one of those people also, Chris, that I take hobbies and things that I like, and I try to figure out a way to turn that into some sort of a career kind of avenue. Back here during the quarantine time, being stuck at home, I decided that I wanted to take on a canning business. So I did the whole cottage food license and did the food handler license, online training, and did all of that, and started pickling and doing salsas and different things like that. I've always liked cooking, entertaining, cooking for other people, and not wanting to start my own restaurant, because that's one of the worst business decisions you can make. How many fail in the first 2 or 3 years,
Especially in a pandemic.
yeah.
Not a good time to start.
No, not
Nobody
at
can
all.
go to it.
And then this was a way to do the cooking part and be creative in that, without having to worry about the overhead of a physical brick and mortar kind of location. So I've been working with this, going to the Monroe County farmers markets. I've got a deli in my hometown. I'm originally from Heron, Illinois, and they've allowed me to go in. So I actually show up using their kitchen and make everything in-house so that they have everything there. Been doing that since I think June of last year.
Cool.
So have some green beans that you can find here at Stubborn German.
Yeah, that's right. So we recently gave our Bloody Mary an overhaul. This was, I guess, just as soon as we could start getting people back into the building. And this just seems so trivial and minimal compared to what we just were talking about. It feels silly to now be talking about Bloody Marys and booze, but
well, you got to be well-rounded here.
This is fun too. So,
but I will say
anyway.
real fast,
Yeah.
your Bloody Mary didn't need an overhaul. It was a good one. What did you guys do?
It was just fine before.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So we basically we made it a bourbon bacon Bloody Mary.
Oh,
So
man.
we figured, since we have Shorty's right next door, we need to. Oh, look, Josh is getting some goodies out. We're gonna have snack time. But anyway, we having Shorty's next door, we wanted to get some candied bacon from them. So we get that fresh every week. A couple times a week, and we use Yellowstone bourbon, and we use a bacon salted rim, so like the margaritas, kind of salt kind of thing, but it's bacon salt. And we did a Yellowstone barrel pick. It was one of our barrels we did. So I know those guys at the distillery a little bit,
Yep.
and they were kind of promoting them. They sell them there, obviously. So I'd had one or two there at one point, and I was just like, I need to be doing this at my place. Why am I not doing this? So we kind of went with it. They actually they gave us all of the bacon salt that I think that we would need for probably two people's life. And
there you go.
Yeah, I think I have like 10 pounds of bacon salt.
Can never have enough.
You really can't. So. So now we use the Yellowstone bourbon. We use a good mix in it. That salt. We have the goodies on the spear. So we've got. We always start. I just love Clausen pickles, so we start with that. Mm-hmm. But Josh is definitely working on some salty sailor pickles that he's trying to change my mind, and I think we're really close from a couple of them that I've had. But for now it's a Clausen's, and then we use one of the Salty Sailor green beans. So we buy those in and stick that sucker on there, and we've got a blue cheese stuffed olive that goes on. So
wow.
It's a meal in a glass.
It's an event in a glass.
It is. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
It's delicious. It's so good. The green beans got a little heat to it, and I mean, it pops. It's good.
Very good.
You guys need to see what's going on here. He's serving up some
he said he likes to
pickles
entertain. Here we are.
Yeah, pickles, some salsa.
Yeah, it's just I would call it a salsa too. What are we looking at here? Is it a relish or a salsa or a dressing of some sort? Salsa. Okay. All right. And then is this a cauliflower?
Yeah, so so the salsa it's a smoked salsa. So it spends some time in the barbecue smoker for about 3 to 4 hours.
Really?
For the tomatoes, so get them cooked down that way. The cauliflower it's escabeche, and so think of it like a Mexican jardinere. It's going to be pretty decent amount of heat.
He said it's hot.
There's some habaneros
Nice.
in there, and then the pickle.
Chris is just diving in.
Yeah, Chris just dove across the table.
The pickle is
I will not be bashful.
is what got me connected with some people on Twitter. So using the Red Hot Riplet seasoning
yeah. You brought those?
from Old Vienna.
Oh, those
and
were so good.
That's got the Red Hot Riplet seasoning
Nice.
on that as
Okay.
well. So
This is by
Pickle-
far the best way to eat a piece of cauliflower. My God.
Pickles outstanding.
Yeah, the Red
All
Hot.
right, I'm gonna try it.
Josh gave me a jar of the Red Hot Riplet pickles, and they were annihilated within, the week.
Minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Josh, a little trivia
Wow.
question. Do you, being a professional pickler, I don't know the answer, and I was just curious. Why are they called bread and butter pickles? Do you know?
no idea.
No idea. I don't know.
No, not at all. There's no butter in the recipe.
No, no bread.
Yeah.
You're supposed to put it on a piece of butter bread, right?
Yeah, but
Butter bread with some pickles? I don't know.
I mean, that
butter
would-
isn't
that would be my
called
guess.
bread. You know, it's not named after what
Yeah.
you put it on.
I would guess if there was anything, it might have been. I'm gonna just shot in the dark. If somebody wants to, Google all of this, they can figure it out.
It would be Chris.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
I can do that.
Back to Depression era, where I can remember my grandparents talking about it. How it was just a biscuit with bacon grease on it, and that's what they would have in their lunchbox type of thing. And I'm kind of wondering if these bread and butter pickles because it's, so many grandmas have that recipe and like they make them, that you were able to make them at home. And then it might have been like, that was the meal, was a piece of bread with butter, and then you put on these pickles, and then that's how they might have became bread and butter pickles.
It's possible.
I think that's what I just said, right?
Well, what's funny is this question came up. My wife's nephew asked this question last week about bread and butter pickles at lunch, for real. And he had the same exact philosophy.
Okay, yeah.
And I interjected saying, well, maybe the first guy that made and sold these, this was his bread and butter. He was, I don't know.
So we just call them the bread and butter pickles. So I should call pick
a beer.
Our blueberry wheat the bread and butter beer.
Yeah, see, they're always.
Then you get Harry Potter in there with the butter beer.
Butter and beer is not a good mix.
Now, my wife, who is here taking pictures, will attest that I am not a cauliflower eater, nor am I a pickle eater. And this is good. This is the way to eat it.
And look what just happened.
He's going for seconds.
Shy at all.
Yeah.
I'm not a cauliflower fan, and like I said, that is the way to eat cauliflower right there.
That is outstanding.
Yeah,
I got to try that.
So I delivered some of the salsa to a buddy, and he had taken on gardening, during all of this, and got him a jar of the salsa, and he came back and was like, "I hate you," and I was like, "What?" And he like, I made no less than a dozen different varieties of salsa during all of this, and I couldn't land on one that I liked. And he's like, and the first one that you put out is just hands down fantastic. And he's like, I'm done. Like, I'm not even going to try to make it. If that's what you can get me, then I will just give you my tomatoes and everything, and you can just make it out of my stuff. And that works.
Well, I'll tell you what, this salsa, it's not your typical salsa. It's not real heavy on red, tomato-y stuff. Yeah. It's wonderful. Very good.
It's amazing. I'm a self-proclaimed salsa expert. I've tried them all. Oh, what?
Salsa snob?
A salsa snob, absolutely. Yeah, well, beer snob, bourbon snob,
just
salsa
add
snob.
it to the list.
We might be doing a podcast about salsa in the future. We kind of are right now. Yeah. But that salsa is phenomenal, and it's not sweet. No. I cannot stand.
So this is
buy some salsa, and it's got this big sweet thing, and it finishes spicy. I don't want sweet and spicy. I want spicy. Like,
this is a repeatable recipe. Like, if people buy that salsa, it's going to taste like that.
Yeah, every time.
Because that is so good.
Yeah.
So good.
I'm looking at doing a little, like a hotter variety, because I know it's not really...
Okay.
It's not really hot. Like,
no, it's not.
My daughter Ellie is 3, and she will eat this salsa. Yeah. My mother-in-law doesn't like spicy stuff, and she'll eat this salsa.
Gotcha.
And so it's nice in that probably once out of every 3 bites... You get a hold of a bite, and you go, ooh, that has a little. There's something there.
Something in there, yeah.
And then it goes away pretty quick, and then you take a couple more bites, and you're like, yeah, this is good, and then you get a little taste, but it's not oppressive.
Sure. What peppers do you use in it?
So for this one, it's just jalapeno.
Okay.
And then I've done it another one with
what a serviceable pepper.
Yeah. Especially because
good word.
And then
Thank you.
When I put it in the smoker, also it tones it down a lot because it's been roasted for 3 hours.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at also with the habaneros, but those hit different. I know you use that in some of the beers, and so instead of it being forward, it's way back in the back of your throat.
Yeah.
And so my jerk and gherkin is the Jamaican jerk pickle.
Yes.
And that uses habaneros, and then that's all in the back. So it's
gotcha.
I think your Famous Dave's like sweet with heat. It's got cinnamon, a lot of brown sugar, and then the habanero heat. So you take a bite and you go, hey, this is good. And then all of a sudden you go, okay. And then like 30 minutes later, you can still feel in your chest. It's still like that winter warmer. It's just your entire chest is like nice and hot.
Yeah.
But your mouth's not on fire where you can't do anything else.
It just becomes a hug.
Yeah, it's just a nice warm, like Olaf, nice warm hugs.
So how can our listeners get a hold of some Salty Sailor salsa or whatever else you're canning? I know you mentioned the farmer's market.
Yeah, so that's the big thing right now. If you want to, what was it, like, share, and review, we have a Facebook page. You can certainly do that. And then, at the farmer's market, we'll be at, we just moved to the Monroe County Annex.
Well, I was going to ask about that. They just moved, right? Because they were at a facility that closed, so they had to move or chose to move. What happened with that?
Yeah, so for the last several years, Waterloo Farmer's Market had been over at the Family Video parking lot, which was great because Family Video didn't open until noon. And so it was a really great relationship. And for those who don't know, Family Video Corporate decided to close, but they are now in like the property management business. So Family Video, as a corporation, owns all of the properties that they were in.
Okay.
So I know in Carbondale, half of the Family Video years ago got switched over to a Little Caesars, and they've closed some and then reopened them as like Family Dollars and things like that. So they still own, but they're leasing now, and they make their money off of that. So they've shifted their kind of business model.
Well, good
off
for
of
them, because I did feel bad, because I mean, I got Netflix too, and I was part of the problem. And it's hard to sleep at night some nights, honestly.
You quit renting video games and buying CBD oil. And
Right.
I didn't have a use for that anymore.
That's also the Portillo's plan. Dick Portillo still owns all the land that his restaurants are in.
Right.
In the Chicago area and around.
And just you kind of lease everything, and so you just become a property manager at that point. So when we were looking at that, and I've only been with the farmers market for almost half of last season, but we had a conversation about it of, do we stick it out and stay, or do we move? And the question was, and I've used this quote often in the last year with everything going on. Otto von Bismarck said, if revolution there is to come, better we undertake it than undergo it.
Very
if
good.
this is going to happen, I want it to happen on our terms, and I want us to be the ones steering the ship. Whenever I was in the Navy, I was a helmsman, and I drove an aircraft carrier. I want to be the one in the driver's seat. That's what I want to be doing.
Speaking of bearing the lead, by the way.
Yeah.
I drove an aircraft.
No big deal.
Yeah. I don't want to be the guy, just along, like the other, 5,100 of my closest friends along for the ride, you're going where I steer. So it was the question of, at some point, they're going to lease that building to somebody. And whether that's in 2 months or 6 months or 9 months or whatever,
that
at some
is
point,
the plan.
it's going to happen. God willing, they're going to have some income, and the people who are here locally that run the organization will still be able to be employed doing all those things. I want them to have their jobs.
Sure.
But it's going to eventually happen.
Yeah.
And for us to have to make the decision mid-year, where do we move? Well, now we have to move.
Yeah.
Where do we move?
Right.
How do we get the word out on all this? We just kind of talked it through and said, is it better to just have a clean slate and to move to a new location? And we had good support from the Monroe County Annex and U of I Extension, who said, we'd love to have you guys here long term. There's not going to be an issue where next year that's no longer an option. There were some churches that we kind of thought might be an option, and it was just like, maybe it could be, but then there could be some changes there where it's okay now, it's not okay later. We did look at trying to come, I think, here downtown a little bit, and the response from that was good, but there was also when there's going to be another event for the city for something else, that's going to take priority.
And where do you go?
And where do we go? And that's the part with the farmers market is it's consistency.
You need it.
Yeah.
You just
you can't take a week off from harvesting your lettuce or whatever that week.
Right. And if you move someplace else or you do that, you don't necessarily have people who come out to the farmers market every single Saturday. You have those people. You have some people who come every once in a while.
They drive by and see it and go, oh, yeah, let's go.
And then there's other people who just are sitting around and they go, hey, you know what? I do need some of this stuff for this thing. And they count on you to be there on Saturday morning.
Right.
And if there happens to be a 5K or a bike race or something else going on, and they show up and you're not there, that's a big problem at times.
Right.
And so we needed stability and consistency. And, the Annex was great. Looking forward to that partnership to be able to work through that, and trying to encourage some of those other kind of like more of a vendor type event where it's like a destination. You can have people come more than just come pick up your produce and leave. It's come park, walk around.
Some you can bring people to,
and bring people to see some of that. And being next to the subdivision, I don't remember exactly which one. I think there's more than one right there behind it.
Yes,
in that area.
The name skips.
So when you say the annex, you're talking about, like, for our local listeners, the ambulance center across from the Waterloo Sports Association on the bypass there. Yeah,
recycling
center. Right off Illinois and Route 3.
Yeah.
Easily accessible and
good lot.
Kind of right in the middle of town. Yeah.
And it's at a stoplight.
More traffic too. I mean, honestly,
it's at a stoplight, which was a big thing, because if you're going to have families and you're going to have kids, you're going to have all that, like, you don't want people having accidents.
Yeah.
You don't want to have that.
Right.
So it was nice to be able to have a nice controlled access point and all that. So
Yeah.
Very cool.
I'm very in the weeds on the logistics and details of things. So we were happy to have other people bring up some of those things, but I'm always thinking through the minutia on things. So
Well, it shows in your salsa.
Oh man,
it does,
that's so good.
doesn't it?
Yeah. Well,
So
this was really cool, and I think the other guys aren't going to yell at me if I say you need to come back and be a guest on their time, because we just kind of scratched the surface.
for the snacks.
You're right.
Yeah, definitely bring more snacks,
Bring
but
the
that's not
pickles.
the only reason you're here.
Yeah. And maybe when it's closer to the time of the release of the Evan Williams American Hero bottle and the event, would be a good time to reconvene. But at this point, we
Live feed.
possibly.
Ooh, yeah,
right.
There you go.
See if Jared can
We'll
pull
work
that
it
off.
out.
Yeah, we might be able to do that. We need to reveal the German word of the day.
We
losers,
sure
as you
do.
will.
Why would you be a loser? I don't know. You might have nailed it. Okay, so the
Might
German
have.
word of the day was Scheinwerfer.
Scheinwerfer.
Scheinwerfer. Scheinwerfer. Jared said it's a car wash.
Car wash.
Very good.
German car wash.
Kevin said it means a slippery word. And Josh said it's a slip and slide. So we got a couple slips, we got car wash, we got soap, lots of soap.
Something wet.
Yep.
Yeah. It means headlights.
Headlights.
See, I was right.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
thought Kevin should. You were right that you would be wrong.
Car related.
Scheinwerfer means headlights. Yep. Of
course it
So there
does.
we are. Now we all know when someone starts pulling out Scheinwerfer that they're talking about their headlights.
Yeah, that happened last week, and I was lost. And I studied the wrong, German words this
Well,
past time.
if you would have listened to this podcast, you would be all over it.
Yeah.
You'd be able to change that bad low beam.
Well, Josh, we really appreciate you joining us, and the snacks, and
Yep,
and the
thank you
stories.
so much.
And congratulations on the American Hero Award, and best of luck with all the other ventures. So great to hear you're helping the veterans and so deep in that, and of course the farmers market and all the rest. And I do want to hear about driving the aircraft carrier at some point.
Yes.
and we'll dive into the veteran St. Louis Veterans hockey,
Yeah, I
the
was
St.
gonna
Louis
say, we didn't
Blues
even talk about
Warrior
hockey. So
Yeah.
there's more to come.
Yeah.
Whet their appetite a little bit.
Yeah,
So
episode 2. We'll part
Right, there we
the
are.
Redux.
Yep.
And if you want to be on the podcast, bringing salsa is a good way to
That's
do
a
it.
great way.
That'll
Throw
get you
salsa
on.
and pickles at us, and you're likely to get a microphone.
just nothing sweet for Chris.
No,
Remember
God,
that.
no, don't.
Yeah,
Don't do
right.
it.
All right. Well, this has been another episode of the Stubborn German Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Kevin Ostie, and for Chris Ron and Jared Scheisson and Mr. Josh Perschenberger.
Real close.
Perschbacher. Yeah.
Perschbacher. Say it again, Sam.
And
Prost.